Hello and welcome to the Oliveboard platform. My name is Antara and in this NCERT series we have started the science classes. In yesterday's class we had discussed chapter number 1. In today's class we are going to discuss chapter number 2 from the textbook of class science. And today our chapter is diversity in the living world. So if we see the world around us, then we see from a small little ant to elephant to blue whale, we have different types of animals. From small little grass to big mango trees and to even bigger forests, if we have visited them, then we see there is so much diversity in the living world. So if we study, how do we study? In this particular textbook, in this story, the teacher has taken all the children out to the nature for a nature walk, and she has also invited two prominent personalities or knowers or learners from this particular field. As you can see in this image, that one person is making different birds sounds, and he is letting know that different birds have different sounds. We as adults, we know as of now that okay, all different animals have their own ways of communication. Now as grown-ups also, if we keep this curiosity within us, then we observe that sometimes in a rock, out of nowhere there is a beautiful flower coming out, whereas some trees, they do not have flowers at all. There are trees which gives beautiful flowers. So coming to those important points which will be important for all examinations as well as for learning this chapter. Let us come to the first image where we have taken the name of this person as given in the textbook itself. The madam's name is Sulekha madam, and then there is Dr. Raghu, who is a scientist, and then there is Maniram, who is a naturalist. He is an expert in mimicking the birds and making their sounds. Okay, now this is just for the story part. Coming to the study part, if you have got the opportunity to visit any national park, wildlife sanctuary, or any park for that matter, if you go for morning walks, you will see that there are different types of trees, there are different types of birds, different types of animals all around us. So how do you differentiate that which tree is of what type? How do we study these many living organisms? How do we study this great diversity which we have in our living world? For starters, let us keep it very simple that the grass which you see, right, the grass which you see on the land, very smaller ones, we are addressing them as grasses. Then we see some are little bit taller kind of grass only, but they're little bit taller compared to those grass which are directly on the ground. Let us call them bushes as of now. Now these bushes, they, if they're growing in the desert region, say for example, then they will have different modes of survival in the desert region. For example, the plants in the desert region, the bushes in the desert region will have strong thorn-like structures, just like rose plant also have thorns, right? So those plants which are in dry and arid region, we will see that their bushes have more thorns, prominent thorns, and the leaf is also pulpy, because if they will have this kind of simple leaves, then the water will be taken out and they will dry up. So they have different means of accommodating. Let us take a very simple example of animal. We have bear, then we have polar bear. If you will see a polar bear, it is very furry, white in color, and it has double coat, so that it is a specific layer within its coat which helps it to survive in such cold temperature. Then we have these tall trees, etc. So all these things are around us. All the birds, they're making the different noises. The monkeys are jumping from tree to tree. So this is nothing but how diverse our living world is. And this is nothing but biodiversity. We can call it as biodiversity. The variety of plants and animals which are found in one particular region is the biodiversity of that region. Say for example, if you stay in the mountains, then you will have, say, pine trees in the mountains. But if you stay in desert or arid region, you will not find any pine trees. So there are the different kinds of plants and animals who are adapted to living in different kind of environment and different ecosystem. Look at this example of ecosystem. One, you can see there are trees around us. There are birds which are making their nest on the trees. Then we have the butterflies. Then we have some rabbits which are staying under the ground. And if we look at the water body also has the plants, animals, etc. And that itself is an ecosystem of its own. And look at all these animals. What are they doing? Say this bird is eating this fruit. After that, it will drop the seed there itself. Maybe sometime in the future, there will be another tree coming out of that seed, or it will carry it to a far away place and there can be another tree which will grow from that seed. So these animals and birds are helping the tree to grow in more places, or more trees to grow in that particular place. In return, the tree is providing with food and shelter. See, there are the ants as well which live. And imagine these small little ants, they are able to make the ant hill. And these ant hill which you will observe in the jungles, in the outdoors, even though there is so much of heavy rain, lightning, thunderstorm, these ant hills does not break. It is made up of nothing but mud, which is done by these little engineers. You see how strong they are? That is how you can appreciate nature. You can appreciate how interconnected the things are. If it is disturbed, monkeys will destroy the small plants which we are trying to grow on our rooftops. They will eat the tomatoes from our kitchen gardens. Why? Because we have disturbed their habitat. So they do not have an option. They need the food to eat. Now, how do we categorize or classify these many plants and animals? At least some method we need to have. Now, classification is a chapter in class 11th, 12th. And here also we are talking about it. So let us start from the very basics. Okay. Now with the classification of all the items in your school bag, or if we are taking, say, some luggage for traveling purpose to some place, we arrange it very well, right? For example, there are different compartments in the bag where we will store the different items. If we don't store a pen in the pen compartment, we will have to search the entire bag. Where is the pen? Where is the pen? It's so clumsy and so messy. So that is why this classification is very important. The method which we can use as of now can be very simple. Okay. If it is for plants, then possibly we can say, okay, it is very short, it is grass, or it is very tall, and it might be, if it is, the trunk is hard, if the green leaves are everywhere, if it is appearing like a tree, then probably we can call it a tree. There are more as well. There is herbs as well. Say tulsi plant is a herb. So like that, based on how the stem is. In tulsi, basil, the stem is very soft. If we take the example of proper grown trees, then in that case, the stem is, we don't even call it a stem. We call it as the trunk of the tree, and it is very hard. Then we can see the presence of flowers are there or not. We will see beautiful flowers like, say, rose, sunflower, etc. Whereas we will see there are plants which give no flowers. Many indoor plants we see that they do not grow flowers because flowers will come with sunlight and give the beautiful colors. That is also one concept. But the another thing is that the plant itself can be classified as flowering plants. If it is a non-flowering plant, doesn't matter how much sunlight you will give to it, it will not flower. Similarly, in case of the animals, we can see that where they live on land, that means they are terrestrial. They live in water, that means they are aquatic. What they eat, if they are eating say grass and only veg food like human beings, in that case they are herbivores. If they are eating say meat or non-vegetarian food, egg, fish, that means they are they are eating non-vegetarian food, that means they are carnivores. Then there are some creatures like the boar which will eat both, and they are known as omnivores. Now human beings, be vegetarian or non-vegetarian, are omnivores because they eat both, right? So individual doesn't matter, the entire classification of the category matters. How they move, you will see that if we try to walk on sand, our foot will go inside the sand. But look at the camels, how chill they are. They can walk so nicely on the desert sand. So their foot structure is different, their movement is different. Then you will see in Ladakh also there are camels, the double humped ones. So they have fur. These camels, they also have fur to protect themselves from the cold climate of Ladakh. So there are different types, just like bear, polar bear. Similarly, there are camels and the ones which have fur as well, and they though looks very similar to each other, but in colder regions these creatures, they will have the fur. Okay. Now coming to the plants. Level 1, we have herbs, we have shrubs, and then we have trees. Have a look at the herbs. Say for example the tomato plant. You will always see there are yellow flower which comes out of the tomato plant. And from this flower, after some time you will see there is a small fruit coming out, green color, and then when proper sunlight and everything is received, we will see that they will turn green and we get this beautiful tomatoes. Then you see the example of shrubs. In this shrubs, this tree should have been here, so I'll write down the tree here. Okay, these shrubs, they are of medium size. Tomato, if you will break it anywhere and put in the water, you will see roots. I grew tomatoes in hydroponics by myself for years. So even if you are taking new seeds and growing, it takes so much of time. But if you will just break the stem and if you will put it in the water or in another hydroponic spot, you will see that it has grown into a beautiful tomato tree. Time saving and easy and fast, right? So tomato, the stems can be broken by the hand. They are so soft. They are herbs, okay? Tulsi, you see, you can break it by your hand. Now coming to the shrubs, they are little bit woody, but not like a trunk, not like a tree, but they are, woody and not breakable by hand easily. Maybe in the starting parts, if you want to take out the rose, you can, pluck it. But if you want to take these bottom parts, you will have to cut it. Again, rose also, by cutting the branch, you can grow it well in water. No problem with that, okay? Coming to the trees. In case of trees, you will see these are proper woody stems, or we actually call them trunk. They are so solid and hard. Also, you will see that the trees are thick. They will keep on increasing the thickness of the trunk as the age grows up, and they will keep on growing taller, thicker, to a certain extent of whatever is their limitations. Okay, so this is how we can study the plants. Now coming to the leaves of the plants, the leaves, the seeds, the flowers. Okay, when we have to draw the leaves, then most of the times from childhood itself, this is how we are drawing the leaves. But these leaves which we used to draw in our childhood are actually reticulate venation. These childhood leaves that we used to draw the diagram, these are reticulate venation. Very few times, or if anybody has drawn like this also, please let me know if anybody has drawn like this. These are the example of parallel venation. We can see that they run parallel to each other. For example, take this one and this two. They are parallel to each other. But in this case, it need not be parallel to each other. Okay. So reticulate venation, this diagram clearly shows the difference. Next time, if you have not observed the leaves, reticulate venation and parallel venation, then be a little bit more observant, pick up a fallen leaf or just look at the plant. You don't need to pluck it. See carefully. You will observe that there are different types of venation. Okay, or the veins. In human beings, we have arteries and veins, right? This ones carries our blood, water, nutrient, everything that the human body needs to survive. Basically, in one word, if I have to say, it carries blood, and in blood itself all the nutrients are there. Okay. Now, in the plants also, they need the water, food, etc. to be carried to the different parts of the plants. No, the leaves will cook the food, then it has to be transported to the whole plant or the tree. That is done by these veins, okay, of the leaf. They are doing this work. And we will once again recall reticulate venation and parallel venation. Okay. Coming to the different types of roots. All these are interconnected. We will see after some time. If we will look at some grass, we pluck the grass, we pull it out of the mud and then we throw it. After some time, we again see a new grasses coming out, because even if there is one grass appearing like this, okay, these roots goes and they make another grass. If you'll not see the grass, then probably there is a small little seedling somewhere, and that is why we cannot permanently get rid of them. We have to keep on taking them after a particular time period, say weekly or monthly, to keep our gardens clean, right? So there are different types of rooting system. Tap roots, you will see there is one main taproot. As you can see, one main taproot, and there are different branches coming out of this. But one main root will be there, which is thick and which is quite prominent. Okay, this you will never see in case of grass. So you see any grass when you are cleaning your garden or a pot, you see any grass and observe carefully that they will have somewhat fibrous, and this carrying from one place to another, we will see these kind of root is there. This is dense and web-like structure. Now coming to the interconnectivity. If we see the relationship between what kind of leaves and what kind of root, then we observe that all these are childhood diagram of, leaves where there was reticulate venation. We will see that there is tap root system. And if we will see parallel venation, we will see there is fibrous root system. And that is why the example of grass or something, similar to that is so important. If you will see, then you will find that, okay, with parallel venation, we have fibrous roots. So observe this carefully and you will see that yes, this direct relationship is there. Now coming to the seeds and the relation of the leaves and the roots along with these seeds. Okay. You must have seen chickpeas or say rajma or lubia or any kind of these beans category foods, kidney beans, etc. These beans kind of foods, you will see majority of them when you are soaking them in the water or when you are trying to eat them, majority of them you will see it will be into two parts which is attached like this, and then there is one covering. If you take this out of the water, if you will put it say out in moist area covered with a cloth, and there will be one small little seedling coming out of it, you must have observed this before also. This will give rise to a small little plant eventually, and then it will grow into a plant or whatever it is meant to be. Okay, so these are known as dicots. Di means two. Okay, mono means one, tri means three, so like that. Now these dicots are also known as dicotyledons, monocotyledons and dicotyledons. So dicotyledons or dicots, they have two cotyledons. See, 1 and 2. If you will observe their roots, then they have the tap root system, and if you will observe their leaves, then they have the reticulate venation. So that is the relationship. If you will observe monocot, say for example wheat, you all must have wheat in our home, right? We all have wheat in our home. You also may be having them. So if you will see, then you will observe that it is not made up of two different, pieces. It is one single seed, and they are called monocots or monocotyledons. They have one cotyledon. If we will see their root, then what we will observe? We will observe that they have these fibrous roots. Fibrous roots. They do not have the tap roots. They have the fibrous roots. And already we have studied that if somebody will have the parallel venation, that means they have the fibrous roots. So this is the connectivity between, we have number 1 seen the leaves, number 2 the leaves and the root, and number 3 the leaves, root and the seed. So I hope this was very much helpful. Now coming to the animal kingdom. In the animal kingdom, we see that some are staying on the land and walking on the land. They like to jump and play. And then we can see some are flying in the sky with their wings. And then we see some are staying in the water. And in the water, how will they breathe? Can we breathe in the water? Human beings, if we are breathing, then the lungs are involved. In case of this fish, how they are able to breathe inside the water? Because they have the gills, and this is their adaptation. This is their body structure, their organs which are different from ours. So similarly, different animals are adapted to living in different adaptations and habitats. Okay, the fish can swim with the help of their fins. It has a tail to give that movement and direction, and that is how it works. Then we have these ants, and they use their legs to crawl. Then we have the snake. Snake does not have legs, and then it just crawls it properly crawls on the ground. Then we have frogs who can stay on the land as well as on the in the water. So they are the amphibians who can stay both on land and water. Now a place for every being, habitats and adaptations. Every being, every living being in this world have their own habitat and their own ways of adapting to their habitat or wherever they live. If God has made a fish, then a fish will have the gills and the fins and the tail to be adapted to that environment. If God has made us humans, then we have our own means to be able to humans, right? So habitat is the place where plant or animals live. It provides food, water, air, shelter and everything required for the survival of the animal. Terrestrial, that means they are land based. They live in forest, desert, mountains, wherever. And if they are living in the water, that means their habitat is aquatic. They will live in water-based environment, water-based habitat. Okay. For example, they can live in pond, river, ocean, and you will see that they will be able to adapt according to that. There are plants also in the ocean. There are animals also living. There are aquatic plants. There are aquatic animals. So they will be adapted to their habitat. That is why they are able to survive there, right? So everybody in this world has a place to live and a way to survive. The case of desert, look at the cactus. Even the cactus also give beautiful flowers. You know that? They are thick and fleshy. You see, they're thick and it is appearing like a thorn from outside, but if it is cut, then it is fleshy. In some parts of the world, there are some dishes also which are made of cactus. See, survival. And they store the water because water is very, very precious in the desert region. So they have to store it for the survival. Then the animals will have the special structures for walking on the hot sand. They can store food for days. Where? Look at this hump. Then there are double humped animals as well. Double structures of humps can be seen on the animal. Okay, so like that, what kind of an camel it is? What kind of a camel? This camel is disqualified. Okay, you consider this camel only, but this camel can also have double hump as well. We have seen in Ladakh there is fur as well, which is there for survival. Okay, so they're different in terms of what are their modes of adaptations, what are their habitats. Okay, so they can go without water for days, and then when they find water they can store it because they have this hump for storage of the food and water basically. Next, you look at the mountains. In mountains we see deodar trees, we see pine trees. Why are they conical in shape? Why are they conical in shape? Why are they not open in shape? Because like this the snow will fall everywhere and the snow will destroy everything. But if they are conical in shape, the snow will slide down like human beings slide down in the park when they see a slide, right? So they can slide down and minimum loss will happen to the tree. In fact, there is no loss because it is able to survive, right? You will see the house also in the mountain regions. It is of this structure. Even if it is a building, on top of it people keep this kind of structures. Why? Because the snow will slide off, right? And then they also apply red color to be easily visible in case of any requirement. Now look at this mountain goat. This one is also furry because this one also need to survive. Look at the normal goats in the plains. You will not see this kind of furry goats in the plains, right? Now coming to some legends who have dedicated a lot of work to this field. You all must have heard about Salim Ali. There is a bird sanctuary as well. Salim Ali is known as the birdman of India. He traveled across the country and documented the birds, their habitats and all of these things. Okay, and helping to create vital sanctuaries like Keoladeo National Park. So Salim Ali is known as the birdman of India. Who is known as the birdman of India? Salim Ali. Next is Janaki Amma, the plant guardian. Why it is very important? Because a pioneering botanist who documented and preserved India's rich plant diversity. She played a key role in the historic Save Silent Valley movement. There are different movements that environmentalists and prominent personalities try to, create awareness among the masses. As of now, there are, say, for example, Narmada Bachao Andolan is there. Clean up the Narmada river is there. Then there was the Chipko movement, in where people used to hug the trees so that the trees are not cut. There are traditions where women try Rakhi to the tree and protect them as their brothers. So like this, in the Indian culture, there is history of protecting and staying and respecting the nature. All these goes hand in hand. In fact, now let us come to the last part, that is the guardian's pledge. We all know that we all have to stay in relation or in a very good harmony with each other. So it should never be men versus wild. It should always be men and the wild together. And peaceful and harmony should also be there. If there is no peace and harmony, what will happen? Animal attacks, or say a group of elephant comes inside the village. So these kind of incidents increase. A tiger is roaming in the village, in the water bodies. Why? Because this harmony is not achieved, or it has been actually disturbed. The great Indian bustard is very important for the natural cleaning of the earth. Imagine, think about it, yes or no? But it is now threatened. And if we don't take care of these things, then conditions will deteriorate it. See what happened to the cheetah. So that is why we have to stay in harmony with each other. Conservation efforts has been taken by the government. For example, there is the Project Tiger, which has given us good results, right? And then there is the Cheetah Reintroduction Project, on which work is happening as of now. Community protection, sacred groves are there. Sacred groves. In Meghalaya, you will find many sacred groves. Whenever you are going to any place, on the way you will see signboards of sacred, groves, etc. For that matter, in many villages, when somebody dies, people plant trees after the everything, cremation, etc. has happened. So like that also, the plantation continues and the grooves are also protected, right? So these things has to be done by the local communities, and these things has to be improved over a period of time. But we see it is now the houses, because of the population, of course, are moving closer to the grooves. Previously there used to be, the forest used to be forest, the grooves used to be grooves, and there used to be a distance, a mindful distance from the grooves, etc. But now, because of the population, most probably this has, the margins have decreased. So our mission, we must protect biodiversity to ensure our planet is full of life, helping plants and animals to survive and thrive. So with this, we have done the second chapter, which is diversity in the living world. See you in the next chapter, where we will be doing mindful eating, a path to a healthy body. Okay, so this will be our next class. Thank you everyone for staying connected with me. Take care, stay blessed, and if you like the video, then please consider sharing it with your friends as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.